Welcome back, friends and dear students. In the previous session, we have started to discuss the chapter number 3 in human reproduction. We have finished many topics in human reproduction like male reproductive system, female reproductive system, spermatogenesis, oogenesis process, menstrual cycle, fertilization and the implantation process we have finished. Now today we have to learn one more topic that is called as pregnancy and embryonic development. Okay, this topic we have to discuss today, which is pregnancy and embryonic development. Okay, so how the pregnancy it results. For a pregnancy, the fertilization is the essential component, means a fusion of a sperm and the ovum is necessary. Okay, once the fusion takes place, the next process occurred is a implantation. That means the attachment of this blastocyst to the inner wall of an uterus, that is what we call it as endometrium. So that attachment of this blastocyst to a endometrium lining, this is called as implantation. Once the blastocyst that implant to the wall of a uterus, now the pregnancy starts or the development starts. And how it starts and what kind of the changes takes place or how the embryo that will develop, that we have to discuss in embryonic development. Okay, but before we start, there are this embryonic development. You should know that how the pregnancy that results. Once the implantation takes place, that means the attachment takes place, attachment to the wall of a uterus takes place. What are the changes takes place? So here, once the trophoblast, when it attaches to a wall of a uterus or uterus lining, the cells of a uterus and the trophoblast, they becomes interdigited with each other. They interdigited like this one. They interdigited with each other. Or the cells of a uterus lining, they surrounds to a trophoblast and embed this trophoblast inside them. Okay. So this process occurs and that leads to a development of an interdigitated structure. This interdigitated structure is called as placenta. What it is called as? Placenta. Okay. Thus the placenta is going to be formed, and this placenta is considered as a structural and functional unit in between the mother and the developing embryo. Okay. What is the function of this placenta? The placenta, it provides oxygen and nutrient to an embryo or developing embryo, and it removes CO2, carbon dioxide and waste from embryo. Okay, this is the function of this placenta. It provides O2 and nutrient to an embryo, as well as it removes the CO2 and the waste from an embryo. This placenta is attached to a embryo through a umbilical cord. It is not directly attached, but it is attached through a umbilical cord. So placenta that is attached to an embryo via umbilical cord. Via umbilical cord. Clear? So thus this is the role of placenta. Apart from this role, the placenta can also act as endocrine tissue. It is also act as an endocrine tissue. Okay, so as it is an endocrine tissue, it secretes a hormone. So which are the hormones secreted by it? The hormones secreted by it: HCG, HPL, estrogens and progestogens. These are the hormones which are secreted by a placenta, because the placenta can act as endocrine tissue. What is the full form of HCG? It's called as human chorionic gonadotropin. What is HPL? It's called as human placental lactogen. Clear? So these are the hormones which are secreted by placenta. Which are the hormones? HCG, HPL, estrogen and the progestogens. During the late period of a pregnancy, one more hormone that is released from ovary, and the name of hormone which is released from ovary, that is relaxin. Okay, this is called as relaxin. Remember, these are the hormones I am underlining: HCG, HPL and the relaxin. These are the hormones. They are only released during pregnancy. Clear? These three hormones, HCG, HPL and the relaxin, these three hormones, they are only released during a condition called as a pregnancy. Okay, and that's why the pregnancy kit, which includes a detection of the level of this hormone HCG. Okay, this once the HCG starts to be produced by a placenta, the HCG that goes in a blood. From blood it goes to a urine, and that HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin, is excreted through a urine. In a pregnancy detection kit, they determine the pregnancy based on determining the level of HCG, human chorionic gonadotrophin, because this is a hormone that is only released during a pregnancy. Okay, so which are the three hormones? They are only released during a pregnancy: HCG, HPL and relaxin. But relaxin is released during the late stage of a pregnancy. So in the early stage, these are the two hormones which are going to be released, and we are detecting their level to determine the pregnancy at the early level. Okay, so these are the hormones which are secreted by them. Okay, this is called as a placenta, and the placenta can act as an endocrine tissue. In short, the function of placenta, a structural and functional unit, it provides O2 and nutrient to embryo. It removes the carbon dioxide and the waste from embryo. But the placenta and embryo, they are connected via umbilical cord. The placenta can also act as an endocrine tissues and releases the hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogen, progestogen and relaxin. HCG, HPL and the relaxin, they are only released during a pregnancy. Apart from release of these hormones in a pregnancy, the level of certain other hormones like these hormones, I write down, that's cortisol, thyroxine. The level of this hormone, okay, or you can say prolactin. The level of these hormones is increased many folds. Even the level of estrogen and progestogens, they also increase many fold. Okay, they increase in a higher amount comparable to a normal person in a pregnancy. And what is the role of this one? They are responsible for development of embryo. They are responsible for the growth and the development of an embryo. They are also responsible for maintenance of pregnancy. And they also control a metabolism in lady. Okay, so there are three functions. During pregnancy, the level of these three hormones, cortisol, thyroxine and prolactin, they increases the manifold. Okay, their levels are increased too much high compared to a normal person. And what is their role? They are responsible for development of an embryo, that means a growth of embryo. These hormones are also responsible for maintenance of pregnancy, and they have a role in metabolism process. Okay, and thus they are going to be released. That's all about what happens during a pregnancy. Once the pregnancy confirmed, now there is a development of an embryo starts. And how the embryo development is going to start. So let's discuss how the embryo formation is going to start. See, now we have to see how this embryo formation starts. You know that the cells of blastomere, they are divided into two, the outer region and the inner one. The outer one is called as trophoblast and the inner one, that's called as inner cell mass. This trophoblast attached to a wall of uterus, that means that is responsible for implantation process. And now what happens to this inner cell mass? The inner cell mass that develops into an embryo. So now we have to see that how this inner cell mass that develops into an embryo. So this inner cell mass, they are from that first two layers are going to form. The outer layer which is going to be formed, it's called as ectoderm. And the another inner layer which is going to be formed, this is called as endoderm. Clear? From inner cell mass, the outer layer formed, that is called as ectoderm, and the inner layer which is formed, that's called as an endoderm. Now after the formation of ectoderm and the endoderm, that's outer and inner layer respectively, there is a formation of one more layer in between them, in between ectoderm and endoderm, that is called as mesoderm. Okay? So now we have a development of three layers, outer, middle and the inner layer. But initially only two layers are formed, outer and inner. Outer is ectoderm and the inner is endoderm. Once these two layers are formed, the middle layer is formed in between them, that is called as a mesoderm. From these three layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and the inner endoderm, different organs and organ system develops. So you can say that whole body that develops from these three layers, ectoderm, mesoderm and the endoderm. They are responsible for development of all types of the tissues, organs and organ system in embryo. Okay, so that is how the development takes place. In this inner cell mass, some of the cell they act as a stem cell. Okay, they act as a stem cell. Stem cell has a capacity to produce any type of a cell in embryo, because you know that in a human body the cells which are present are not of same type, they are of a different type. Like see, the cell of a RBC, cell of WBC, cell of neuron, cell of a muscle, they are not of same type, they are of a different type. So that inner cell mass, they possess a special type of a cell, what we call it as stem cells, and this stem cell has a capacity to produce any type of a tissues and organs in our body, and thus embryonic development takes place. Okay, the embryonic development, it takes a time, or the fetus development, it takes a time to produce this or to fully develop the fetus, and you know that how much time it needs a 9 months, and through this 9 months the development of an embryo takes place. Now we have to learn the important milestone during this 9-month pregnancy period or 9-month gestation period. Okay, so now we will learn what are the main milestones that has been observed during this 9 months. But before we start, you should know that the inner cell mass, it forms outer ectoderm, inner endoderm. Soon after that, the middle layer develop mesoderm. From these three, the different tissues, organ and organ system develop, and some of the cells, they act as a stem cell, and from that the whole organ and organ system of embryo that develops. Okay, total time period of this embryonic development is a 9 months. Okay, so during that, what are the changes takes place, or what are the important milestones they are going to be observed. Okay, see here, at the end of first month, okay, first month means you can say that in 1 month, how many weeks are there? 4 weeks. So at the end of 4 weeks, what is going to be formed? You have to remember that. What are the important milestones? The heart is formed, and the heart starts beating. The formation of a heart that can be detected by hearing a sound with the use of stethoscope. Okay, because once the heart is formed, it starts a beating at the end of first month or at the end of 4 week, and that sound can be heard with help of a stethoscope. Okay, so at the end of first month, the heart is going to form. Okay, at the end of second month, or you can say 8 week, what is going to be formed? There is a formation of limbs and digits. Okay, what is formed? At the end of 8 week or the second month, the limbs and digits are going to form. Okay, next, third month. Or you can say at the end of 12 week, what are the observation takes place? Here, most organ starts to form and there is an appearance of external genitalia. So at this stage, when there is a development of external genitalia, a doctor can determine the sex of a baby, whether it's a male or female, because a clear-cut observation of external genitalia, means external genital organ, can be seen through a sonography or USG, ultrasound sonography, okay, through which it can be detected. So this is development occur, but in India, the determination of a sex is prohibited under a law. Clear? So the sex determination is prohibited in India, but a doctor can determine the sex at the end of third month, because the external genitalia, it develops at the end of third month. This is at 12 weeks. Okay. Now that's all about the activity that takes place in first trimester. Okay. Trimester means, tri means 3. At the end of 3 months, these are the changes which are going to be observed. Okay. Now at the end of 5th month, now you know that 5th month means how many weeks? It includes 20 weeks. What are the changes they are going to be observed at the end of 5th month? Here, the first movement of baby is observed during 5th month. Okay, what happens? First movement of baby that is observed in the first month. Apart from that, there is an appearance of hair on head. On head, there is an appearance of hair takes place during the 5th month or during the 20 weeks. Okay. Now 6th month. 6th month means 24 weeks. What takes place? Here there is an appearance of hair all over the body and the these eyelids open and formation of eyelashes. Okay, or eyelids, more specifically say, instead of open, the eyelids becomes a separate. The eyelids which are closed or attached, they becomes a separated. Okay, and there is a formation of an eyelashes on the eyelids. That happens at the end of 6th month. Now at the 9th month, means you can also call it as full term, there is a full embryonic development takes place. or complete embryonic development takes place. Okay, so these are the important milestones. Why embryonic development? So what are the important milestones in this? Say, remember this, you have to remember when the heart is formed at the end of first month or fourth week. Okay, when the limbs and digits are going to be formed, they are formed at the second month, at the end of second month or 8th week. When the 8th week finishes, this is formed. At the third month, most of the organs are formed. Even the limbs and digits are well developed, and external genitalia, they appears, okay, or it can be clearly seen. So at this stage the doctor can determine the sex of a baby, whether it's a male or female, but the sex determination in India is legally prohibited. Okay, so these are the events occur during the first trimester, first 3 months. Now at the end of 5th month, or during the 5th month, there is a first movement of baby is observed or felt. Okay, you might have seen the 3 idiots, the kick. Okay, that kick, that is first time movement of baby, that is going to be observed during the 5th month, 20 weeks. 6th month, at the end of 24 weeks, there is an appearance of hair all over the body, and eyelids becomes a separate, and there is a formation of eyelashes. So this is the end of second trimester. 6 months, second trimester. And at the 9th month, where the third trimester overs, the baby is fully developed and now it is ready for delivery. Now it's ready for delivery. So clear? So these are the some of the important milestones in an embryonic development. Okay. Once the 9-month full term, or there is a full development of a baby, now a next process is going to occur, what we commonly call it as delivery of a baby, or in scientific language, our term, we are calling it as parturition. So how it takes place. So let's understand how it takes place. So we have seen the pregnancy and embryonic development, and now we start with parturition process. Okay, that means a delivery of a baby. What is parturition of a baby? In simple term, it is called as delivery of a baby. Okay, or delivery of a fetus, a young one. This process is called as parturition. What is called as parturition? When a development is over, that is a gestation period is over, means pregnancy period is over. You know that what is a pregnancy period? That is a 9 months. Okay, usually it is in the range of, this is the normal gestation period, 36 to 42 weeks. This is a normal gestation period. We are calling it as a 9 month, but in a medical language we are talking in terms of weeks or days. So how many weeks or days? 36 to 42 weeks, because they are monitoring the development of embryo week wise, not a month wise. Okay, that's why we have also written the week wise development, embryonic development, like at the end of 4 week, 8 week, 12 week. Okay, because every week certain changes takes place, and during a late stage the monitoring of a embryo should be necessary at every week. Okay, so usual time is 36 to 42 weeks. On an average, the gestation period or the pregnancy time is 40 weeks. To remember, what is a normal gestation time? Gestation period is, this is considered as an average gestation period, or normal average gestation period is 46 weeks. Or in common language we are calling it as 9 months. Okay, but if it is in the range of 36 to 42 weeks, then also in medical term it's considered as a normal gestation period. Okay. Now once this 40 weeks or 42 weeks over, means a full development of a baby takes place. Now the baby is ready to be delivered, and that a process of delivery of a baby, that what we call it as parturition. So how the body comes to know that now the 40 weeks over? Okay. So the process of delivery has to start, means a process of parturition has to start. So how it knows? When there is a full development of a baby, the baby or a fetus, and more specifically say fetus, what we commonly call as baby, and the placenta, it secretes one hormone, okay, in a minor quantity. The hormone gets secreted, and the name of this hormone, it's called as oxytocin. Okay, the oxytocin is secreted by a fetus and the placenta. When it occurs? When there is a end of full gestation period. At that time, this oxytocin is secreted by fetus and the placenta. Now you know the function of oxytocin. You have learned the function of oxytocin. It is responsible for contraction of uterus. But here, the oxytocin is released in a very small quantity, so it just produces a mild contraction of uterus. Okay, a mild contraction of a uterus that makes a somewhat mild pressure on the baby, but that is not sufficient to deliver or to push a baby outside. Okay, now once the oxytocin is released in a small quantity or the mild quantity, they promotes a mild contraction of uterus. That means a contraction of uterus starts. Okay, and initiation of labor pain occurs. This is called as fetus ejection reflex. What it is called as fetus ejection reflex. So what is a fetus ejection reflex? Fetus ejection reflex, that means a mild contraction of a uterus has been started by release of small quantity of oxytocin from fetus and the placenta. And when this process occurs when there is a full development of a baby. So thus the fetus ejection reflex initiate. When there is a fetus ejection reflex, means a mild contraction of uterus starts, it will activate posterior pituitary gland of a mother, and from that more amount of oxytocin gets liberated. More amount that releases the oxytocin. Now the oxytocin is in a somewhat higher proportion compared to it. So this oxytocin, that induces contraction of uterus. So there is a somewhat higher frequency of contraction starts by a release of oxytocin. Okay, that makes a force and that initiate a more intense labor pain. Okay, if it is still insufficient, then again it will send a message to a posterior pituitary gland to release the more oxytocin. More oxytocin, more contraction, and thus the vigorous contraction occurs. When there is a more or vigorous contraction, then there is a baby gets delivered out, and what we call it as a process called as parturition. Due to a vigorous contraction or very high frequency of contraction by release of more and more oxytocin, okay, by the posterior pituitary gland of a lady, that leads to a process called as a parturition. It will check once it releases a contraction. If it is insufficient, again more is released, then more contraction, again it is released, and continue until the baby gets delivered out, and that process of delivery is called as a parturition. Okay, and that process occurs when there is a full development of a baby. So again explain how this occurs. This parturition process is a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. It is a complex neuroendocrine mechanism. Okay, it is not necessary that same amount of this movement that occurs or mechanism that occurs in all the types of lady. okay, that set of mechanism may going to be somewhat differ in the frequencies. When there is a full development of a fetus and placenta, it leads to release a small quantity of oxytocin, and that leads to a mild contraction of uterus. This is called as fetus ejection reflex, but that is insufficient for a delivery of a baby. So once there is an initiation of fetus ejection reflex, it will activate the posterior pituitary gland of a lady that releases the more oxytocin and causes the contraction of uterus. If they are insufficient, again it activates, more release, more contraction, and thus the vigorous contraction start. When there is a vigorous contraction, it makes a pressure or push the baby outside the body, and this process is called as parturition process. Okay, and thus the delivery of a baby takes place. Okay, and that delivery of a baby is called as parturition. In short, it is a very complex neuroendocrine mechanism that leads to a parturition. If a baby is not able to deliver in a normal way, then a kind of a surgery has to be performed that is called as CS section, what we call it as cesarean section. Okay, so cesarean sections through which abdomen is going to be cut and the baby is going to be taken away from the womb or the uterus. This process is called as cesarean section. It has to be performed if there are chances of complications or a lady is not able to cope up with a normal neuroendocrine mechanism, because it's a complex mechanism. Okay, and thus at the end of this, the baby gets delivered out or the parturition process finished, and the baby now it is in the outer world, okay, in our environment. And when it is in our environment, the baby needs a nourishment, food. So how the baby gets a nourishment or the food? The baby gets a nourishment and the food through a breast milk, okay, and that is called as a lactation. What is called as lactation. So now we have to understand what is a lactation and its related structures. So let's start with lactation and its related structures. Lactation. What is a lactation? Lactation, that means a nourishment of the baby or the delivered baby in the form of a breast milk or the mammary gland milk. This is known as lactation process. This is called as lactation process. You know that mammary gland or breast, they are the characteristics of mammals. Every mammal has a mammary gland, okay, whether it's a male or female. But we have seen the difference. In a male, the mammary gland is just for a namesake, but in a female, the mammary gland is well developed and functional. Well developed and functional. Through this mammary gland, a milk is provided to a baby, and that is used for its nourishment. That means the functional and well-developed mammary gland, they are found in a female, not in a male. So let us first understand what is the structure of mammary gland. What is the structure of mammary gland? And that way we see how the milk is going to be sucked out or provided to a baby for its nourishment. If you see this mammary gland, how many mammary glands are? Mammary glands are two, or they are present in a pair, okay, what is commonly called it as breast. This mammary gland, if you see the structure of this mammary gland, this is a schematic representation of one mammary gland. This mammary gland, it consists of two parts. It is made up of a two type of a tissue. First is called as glandular tissue, and it contains a variable amount of a fat. Okay, So it contains a glandular tissues and variable amount of a fat. This is the fat. The amount of this fat is variable. Of fat tissues, what we also call it as adipocytes are present. This is a fat. This is also a fat. You can also call it as adipose tissue, in which the fat is stored. Apart from this variable amount of fat, it also contains a glandular tissues. This is a glandular tissues. And these glandular tissues, they are divided into lobes. Okay, these glandular tissues, they are divided into lobes. These lobes are called as mammary lobules. What it is called as mammary lobules. How many lobes are present? There are usually 15 to 20 lobes are present. I have shown just 5, but in a one mammary gland, how many lobules are present? 1, 2, 3, 4, such. How many? 15 to 20 mammary lobules are present, or 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present, which you can call it as mammary lobules. Clear? These mammary lobules, it contains a clusters of cells like such. A clusters or group of cells. In each mammary lobule, there is a presence of a group of cells. In each one, many, a group of cells are present. This group of cells are called as alveoli. What it is called as? Alveoli. A cluster of cells which is found in each lobule. Okay, they are called as alveoli. Okay, this alveoli, it secretes a milk, like I am showing with the blue. Okay, this secretes a milk and this secretes into its cavity, lumen. Okay, they are secreted in its cavity. Okay, again repeat. The mammary gland, they are present in a pair, means 2 number of mammary glands are present. It is well developed and functional only in female mammal. It consists of 2 types of a tissue, a glandular tissue and a variable amount of fat. Okay, this is the fat. Glandular tissue, it divides into 15 to 20 lobes, what we call it as mammary lobules. Each mammary lobule, one, that contains a group of cells, what we call it as alveoli. These alveoli, where the milk is produced and from where the milk is going to be secreted, and they are stored in their lobes. From this mammary lobules, there is a development of a tube-like structure like this, tube-like. Okay, this tube-like structure which is developed from it, it's called as mammary tubules. What it is called as mammary tubule. Similarly, here also a tube-like structure which is developed. What it is called as? They are called as mammary tubules. Okay, this tubule, from all the alveoli, there is a tube-like structure which develops. This is called as mammary tubules. Okay, these mammary tubules from each lobe joins like such. They joins. Okay, and they form a mammary duct. What it forms? A mammary duct. The mammary duct, they opens into a wider portion over here, a wider portion where they open. Okay, from all this. They open over here in a wider region. This all are tube-like structure. Okay, and this is called as mammary ampulla. A wider part. Okay, this mammary ampulla that is connected to a, it is connected to a lactiferous duct. It's connected to a lactiferous duct. and through this lactiferous duct, the milk is sucked out by a baby. Milk is sucked out by a baby. Clear? So this is a structure of mammary gland. Important. It is asked in exam with a diagram. See, so again repeat. Mammary gland, it consists of glandular tissue and fat. The glandular tissue consists of 15 to 20 lobes, what we call it as mammary lobules. Each lobule contains a group of cells called as alveoli, where the milk is produced. Milk is stored in its lumen. From that it carries to a mammary tubule. Mammary tubule to mix milk go to a mammary duct. Mammary duct it goes to a mammary ampulla. Mammary ampulla it goes to a lactiferous duct. And through lactiferous duct it is sucked out via nipple. Okay, so this is called as mammary gland. And the milk which is secreted by it is for nourishment of a baby. And that process of providing nourishment to a baby in form of a mother's milk, this process is called as a lactation. It's called as lactation. So understand what is the flow of milk in a mammary gland. Alveoli produced it. In the lumen it is stored. From that it comes to a mammary tubules, a tube which is generated from alveoli. From there it comes to a mammary duct. The tubules join together from mammary duct. Okay, and it leaves out from a lobule. Mammary duct combines and opens into a wider part, what we call it as mammary ampulla. Mammary ampulla connects to a lactiferous duct, and through which a milk is sucked out. Mammary glands are two. They are present in a pair, consist of glandular tissue and the variable amounts of fat. Now you know that after a puberty or at the age of maturation and reproductive phase, the development of mammary gland starts. But now what happens during a pregnancy? So that's why the mammary gland can start to produce the milk. In normal phase of reproductive, where the lady is not pregnant, the milk production does not occur by a mammary gland. But when a lady is pregnant, at that time, the cells of this mammary gland, it undergo differentiation. And there is an increase in the size of a mammary gland, and that what we call it as, that leads to a enlargement of mammary gland. Okay, so this enlargement of mammary gland, it occurs during a pregnancy due to a differentiation of the cells of mammary gland. Once the enlargement of a mammary gland takes place, at the end of pregnancy, upon the influence of a hormone like prolactin, the milk production starts. And this milk is for nourishment of an offspring or nourishment of a baby. The milk which is secreted through a mammary gland, the initial days of lactation, remember this is very important, initial days of lactation is slightly yellowish in color. It is not as white as like a milk. It is slightly yellowish in color, the initial days of lactation. This is called as colostrum. Remember, the initial days of secretion of a milk is slightly yellowish in color. What it is called? It is called as colostrum. This colostrum is rich in antibodies. Okay, they are rich in antibodies. And one of the prominent antibody which is found in colostrum, it's very important. Many times it has been asked. This antibody which is prominently found in it is IgA. There are different types of antibody like IgA, IgG, IgE, IgD, IgM, main 5 types. But from that, the colostrum possesses the IgA. And I hope you know the function of antibody. The function of antibody is they are responsible for immune system, or they provide immunity. So once a baby sucks a milk from a mammary gland, it gets this antibody IgA, and that protects the baby because it provides immunity. That's why it is advisable by doctors and physicians that if to a baby the lactation or the mother milk has to be provided, because it protects the baby and it provides a nourishment. It provides a best quality of nourishment to a baby. So it is advisable to provide a mammary gland milk or a breast milk for its nourishment. Okay, so remember, what is the initial days of lactation is called as colostrum. Okay, and that is containing the antibody and the nutrients. The main antibody found in it is IgA that protect a baby against diseases and infections. So it is advisable to provide this milk to a baby. So this is called as lactation. How it occurs? Once a lady is pregnant, a differentiation starts, means a development of this mammary gland starts, and there is an enlargement of a mammary gland. At the end of pregnancy, it starts to produce the milk upon the influence of hormone, and that milk, the initial days of lactation or milk secretion occurs, that is called as colostrum, that is slightly yellowish in color, and that contains an antibody. Okay, so that's all about chapter number 3, human reproduction. So today we have discussed pregnancy, how the placenta is formed, how the different hormones are secreted by it. Then we have also discussed the development of embryo and the important milestone at the end of first month, second month, third month, and how the different organs are going to be developed. Then we have also seen how once the development takes place, how the delivery takes place, means a parturition. Once a delivery takes place, it needs nourishment. We are providing or the baby is provided the nourishment in the form of lactation. That lactation initiates from mammary gland. We have also seen the structure of mammary gland. Okay, and this is well developed in females only. Okay, and they secretes, and these are the components. Okay, so here we finishes with a chapter number 3. So students, keep learning. The important questions of this chapter are spermatogenesis, oogenesis, menstrual cycle, pregnancy and embryonic development, and even the parturition and lactation. 4 mark questions will be asked from this chapter, so you have to do thoroughly. Okay, so thank you for watching. Keep learning, keep watching, like and subscribe. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you like this. Okay, thank you once again.